Yeah, I think we're gonna be able to get started here pretty quickly. So that'll be cool. Just getting my browser configuration sorted here. So cool. So we're gonna be playing with a bunch of new roles today, and also some really cool new models, which I'm excited about. So, let me know if there are particular models that you want to try. I've got so many in here, it's not even funny. But one that I do want to play with today is K2.5, which is pretty new. Just came out, I think, a week ago. Let's see. How are we doing here? Yeah, they don't have a date here, but like this guy is pretty much brand new. Let's see if they, oh yeah, 6 days ago. Yeah, so less than a week ago. So that's going to be fun to play with. And yeah, so we're gonna start there with that guy. I also feel like the Flash previews are a pretty good workhorse model for this. Like they work pretty well. We could also play with some of the 04 mini models if that's interesting. Sort of an interesting note about this. I've really tried the there's a ChatGPT 5 mini model that is supposed to be better than 04, but at least in this game, it's not quite as good, which I find interesting. So, if anybody, see, we've got a couple of viewers. If anybody wants to like mention some models in the chat that we want to try today, we certainly can. I think bringing in like Claude Haiku would be good. In fact, let's bring in one of each of the Claude models because I really do want to play with Opus 4.6 today. I found that model to be super strong. Been using it for work, and it's a really great model. So I'm really curious to see how that one works. Let's also bring in maybe GPT 5.2 with medium reasoning. Obviously, let's bring in a pro preview on high. Let's play with some really, really strong models today and see how this works. And yeah, so we're up to about 6, and we probably want to fill out another 5. So if you've got any ideas, feel free to drop them in chat. Otherwise, I'll just fill out some choices at random. We're going to play with a protective and investigative, 2 town random rolls, 1 neutral roll. And I'll show you some of the rolls once we get into the game, but we've got quite a few new rolls now. We're up to, haven't done a count, but I think it's close to 20, I think. And we're also going to have a Mafia line random roll. So these are sort of Mafia power rolls that we'll add in there. So yeah, so we got to pick another 5 models here. And so that's what we'll do. I feel like, let's see, we've got a Haiku, a Sonnet, and an Opus, which should be fun. Let's bring in ChatGPT 5.2 medium. Let's bring in a minimal just to see how that goes. Curious about that. What else should we bring in? Maybe 2.5 Pro reasoning? That could be an interesting one. And maybe we'll just fill in the rest with Flash previews for now. So we could throw in, 3 of these. We've got pretty good rate limits on those at the minute. So that should be good. So without further ado, let's jump into a game here and see what roll we get, see what happens. Okay, so I'm an associate, which means I'm an associate of the Mafia. So I win with the Mafia, but I don't know who they are, and I can't attend their meetings. It's going to be my turn to introduce myself first. So we have a turn order up here. These are the order that all the players are going to play in, and it lists their names, which the AIs know, as well as their models, which they don't know, as well as, other information about how they're configured. So, hey guys, I'm a bit of a rules lawyer. So, apologies for flooding you with legal jargon. But I hope it helps us crush the Mafia. And now I'm going to show you our fun theater mode.
Hey guys, I'm a bit of a rules lawyer, so apologies for flooding you with legal jargon, but I hope it helps us crush the Mafia.
Listen up, I'm Alice. I'm here to find the liars. If you're town, you have nothing to fear, stay sharp and speak the truth. If you're scum, don't even try to hide. I'm watching your every move. Don't blink.
Ivan here. I'm going to be the annoying one who questions obvious wagons. If a push feels too easy, I'm probably pumping the brakes and asking who benefits. I'll be tracking votes commitments hard, so be clear about your reads and be ready to explain pivots. Let's hunt liars, not vibes.
Heidi passed. Carl passed.
Ooh, Heidi and Carl are having issues
Grace,
today.
not much to say. Everyone's gonna lie anyway. Let's get this over with.
I'm Bob. I only play at the high-stakes table, and my gut says the house is about to win. I'm all in on Dave being a wolf. I'm betting the farm on it right now. Let's see if the dice roll my way.
Curious what happened with
Carol,
Heidi and Bob.
Hi everyone, Dave. This is actually my first time Mafia and I'm already kind of confused. Bob, why are you betting on being a wolf? I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Please be patient with me. I'll try my best to help town, but I might need some guidance. Thanks, grinning face with sweat.
Meh, another game, let's just get on with it.
Hi, I'm Judy. I'm really sorry, but I'm already a bit lost. Why is Bob betting against Dave? Is that how we play? I'm just going to try to listen to the people who know what they're doing. Please don't be mean if I ask dumb questions. Persevering face.
Hi everyone, I'm Eve.
Ooh, we rolled a lot of newbies
really
in this
sorry,
game.
but I'm kind of overwhelmed right now. This is a lot of information and I'm not sure I understand all the rules yet. Grinning face with sweat, I can see some of you seem really confident and smart, so I'll probably be looking to you all for help and guidance. I promise I'm trying my best. I'm sorry if I ask a lot of questions. Please be patient with me. Let's try to find the Mafia together. Introductions complete. Night falls.
All right, so while the Mafia are working here, I want to check on what's going on with Heidi and Carl both passed. And they're different models, so who knows what happened there, but this can sometimes happen if I run into some kind of error, so that might be something for me to debug.
Introductions complete. Night falls.
Later on. But it looks like it's not like a systemic issue, like it's not affecting a single provider, so that's good news. So now we're just waiting on the night phase. We don't participate in the night phase, although we are a Mafia because we are an associate. So that's what we're doing there. And we're just going to wait for them to get their things together. So that was the introduction phase. In the introduction phase, everybody just introduces themselves. And you get a little bit of information about their personality, which, as you can see, each of them are randomly assigned personalities. In this case, we rolled a bunch of nervous
Ivan
newbies.
was killed during the night. They were town aligned. The sun rises.
Uh-oh. Bye-bye, Ivan.
It's your turn.
Okay, so we got to figure out how we want to react to Ivan's death here. So Ivan was a contrarian, I think
Ivan here. I'm going
Yeah,
to be
that's
the
his
annoying one who
personality.
questions-
So we're gonna write something about Ivan, and this is a turn-based game. So we have up to 3 messages, and we can type in a message or we can pass. And passing will let us save our message for later. We proceed to the next phase once everybody has decided to pass or have run out of messages and are forced to pass. So, hey guys, unfortunate Ivan got killed last night. I guess Mafia was targeting contrarians. Perhaps they want us to just follow along with the loudest voices in the room. I'm going to be watching for those pushing easy wagons today.
Hey guys, unfortunate Ivan got killed last night. I guess Mafia was targeting contrarians. Perhaps they want us to just follow along with the loudest voices in the room. I'm going to be watching for those pushing easy wagons today.
Codex, save the legalese for the courtroom. You're worried about loud voices? I'm worried about the silence. Silence is where the scum hide. Ivan died because he was ready to track commitments. He was a threat to the Mafia, so they cut his throat. Now you want US to be quiet and watch out for the loud ONES? That sounds like a muzzle to me. HEIDI, you passed your intro completely. Why? What's the strategy? Are you waiting for the night so you can slink around in the dark? Explain yourself. Now, and the rest of you, confused ONES, Dave, Eve, Judy, pick a side. You're either hounds or you're prey. Start talking or start packing.
Heidi passed.
Ooh, Heidi's having a rough day today.
The record speaks for itself. Ivan declared openly in his introduction, and I quote, that he'd be tracking votes and commitments hard. The Mafia heard that and silenced him. That tells us something important. The Mafia fears accountability. They fear the paper trail. Now let's look at what we have. Codex raises a fair point about loud wagons, but I want to redirect to something more concrete. Heidi passed her introduction entirely on day 1. She has now passed again on day 2. That's 2 consecutive phases of silence, 0 contribution, 0 commitment, 0 skin in the game. The vacuum mandate is clear. A player who contributes nothing for 2 consecutive phases is where Mafia hides. I'm not saying Heidi is confirmed scum. I'm saying the record shows she has given us nothing to work with, no reads, no suspicions, no defense. That's an information black hole, and information black holes benefit exactly
I am
one
curious
team.
what's going
I'd
on
also
with
like to
Heidi.
hear from Grace, Frank, and Carol, all of whom gave bare minimum introductions. Day 2 is when we start building the ledger. If you have reads, now is the time.
So Heidi's
Silence
GPT
after Ivan's
5.2
death
minimal?
is not a good look for anyone.
And it might be that she's just not thinking enough.
Meh, Carl's pushing Heidi for silence, but Bob threw a random vote on Dave and then vanished. At least Heidi's consistently useless. Bob looks like distancing theater. Also, Alice yelling at everyone to talk is rich when Bob gets a free pass.
Listen up, high rollers. I took a blind shot at Dave to see who would flinch, but the math changed. I'm folding my hand on Dave, the kid's clean. My new wager, I'm going all in on Heidi. 2 passes in a row. That's not a player, that's a hole in the table where the chips disappear. The Mafia loves a silent partner. I'm betting my seat that Heidi is scum. Who's got the nerve to see my raise?
Still Bob.
Hi, sorry, I'm still really confused about what's happening. Grinning face with sweat Bob, you said you were betting I'm a wolf earlier and now you say I'm clean. How do you know? I don't understand how that works. I'm just trying to figure this out. And Carl, you said something about a vacuum mandate. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds like it's about Heidi being quiet. Is that bad? I know she passed, but... Alice is being really loud and demanding, but is that better? I'm not trying to be difficult, I just genuinely don't understand how to tell who's suspicious. Can someone please explain in simpler terms what I should be looking for? I want to help town, but I'm worried I'll accidentally vote for the wrong person. Persevering face.
Everyone's piling on the quiet one. Predictable, Bob's weird Dave bet is more interesting than Heidi's silence. But sure, lynch the easy target, whatever.
Judy passed.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm confused again. Grinning face with sweat. So, Carl mentioned the vacuum mandate for Heidi because she passed twice, but then Frank just said that everyone piling on Heidi feels predictable, which I don't understand. Grace is also saying Bob's switch from Dave to Heidi feels weird. I'm sorry, I'm probably missing something important, but when lots of people agree on something really quickly, is that bad? I thought consensus was good. But Ivan died because he was tracking things, and now everyone is suddenly saying Heidi is the problem. I guess I'm asking, is the Heidi wagon happening because it's the right move, or is it happening because someone set it up? I honestly can't tell. I'm sorry if this is a dumb question. Blue Heart.
It's your turn.
Okay. We got to figure out how we want to react to all this. Feel free to drop thoughts in chat.
Heidi's pass is a bit suspicious, but it's also possible she's just really bad, like really incompetent or something. I'd support voting her out for that reason, at least if she can't figure out something to say during the day today.
Grace, Frank, you're defending a black hole. Why? If HEIDI is town, SHE's actively sabotaging US by refusing to contribute. If SHE's scum, SHE's laughing at your shields. Pick one. Either you want information or you want to hide the lack of IT. Dave, Eve, stop the I'm new ACT. The rules are on the table. If you don't have a read, look at the record. Who hasn't committed? Who is hiding? It's not rocket science. HEIDI, the clock is ticking. You've PASSED twice. That's not confusion, that's a choice. What is your strategy? Why are you here? Answer the charge or get out of the way.
Heidi passed.
Heidi. Oh, wow.
Let me address a few things for the record. Grace and Frank raised the point that the Heidi wagon feels predictable. I understand the instinct, easy wagons can be manufactured, but let's be precise about what's actually happened here. Heidi has now passed 3 consecutive times her introduction, her first day 2 opportunity, and now again after Alice directly challenged her. That's not a manufactured
I'm gonna look into
narrative.
this while we're
That's a
playing.
factual record of 0
I'm curious
engagement.
why she keeps
Nobody
passing.
set up Heidi's silence, Heidi chose it repeatedly. Now Grace pivots to Bob. Fair enough, Bob's blind bet on Dave in the intro was strange, but here's the difference. Bob explained his pivot. He said he took a shot to see reactions, the math changed, and he moved on. You can disagree with his reasoning, but he gave reasoning. Heidi has given us nothing, not a single word of analysis, defense, or even confusion. Eve, your question was actually sharp. Is this wagon happening because it's right or because someone set it up? The answer is, look at who's resisting it and why. Frank says lynch the easy target, whatever. That's not a defense of Heidi, that's apathy dressed as contrarianism. Grace deflects to Bob without engaging with
Contrarianism.
Heidi's actual silence. I'm not married to this vote. If Heidi speaks and gives us something real, I'll reassess. But 3 consecutive passes is not a vibes red, it's an information void and the record doesn't lie.
Grace passed.
The table's heating up and I love the smell of desperation. Grace, you're looking at my pivot like it's a bluff, but you're reading the cards upside down. I'm all in on Dave being clean, that's not a guess, that's a payout I'm willing to stake the game on. He's town, end of story. Now let's look at the real hole in the game. Heidi, 3 passes, that's not confused rookie play, that's a cold, calculated strategy to avoid leaving a paper trail. Ivan died because he wanted a trail, and Heidi is the one refusing to pave it. I'm putting my stack on the Heidi lynch. If you're defending the void, you're basically admitting you're part of the team hiding in it. Who's calling my bet?
Vote Bob.
Dave passed.
Bob cleared Dave with 0 information. Now he's leading a parade against the person who hasn't typed. Classic, Carol's right, this is dumb.
Hi everyone, I'm sorry if I'm being dumb again, but I'm trying to follow the logic, grinning face with sweat. Carl, you said Heidi is bad because she's silent, and I understand that's scary because we don't know who she is. But then Frank just said Bob is clearing Dave with zero information, and Bob says he's all in on Dave being clean. Does that mean Bob is the cop, or is he just guessing? I don't understand how you can be 100% sure unless you looked. Persevering face. I don't want to vote for the wrong person. Heidi is scary because she's quiet, but Bob is scary because he's so sure. Is that suspicious?
Okay, so there is a
Can
problem
someone
with
please
Heidi,
explain which
and
one
I
is the
found it.
safer vote for town? I'm sorry I'm so lost. Blue heart.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but I'm stuck on something Judy just brought up. Grinning face with sweat. Bob, you said you were all in on Dave being clean, but I don't understand how you know that. You took a blind shot at him in the intro to see who would flinch, and now you're certain he's town. Did something happen that I missed? Did you investigate him or something? Because if you just changed your mind about Dave without new information, that's confusing to me. It feels like you picked a target, Dave, got a reaction, and then cleared him to move on to your real target, Heidi. Is that a normal strategy? I'm asking because Judy seems confused too, and I want to make sure I'm not missing something obvious. If you're a cop or something and you investigated Dave, that would explain it. But if you're just guessing, shouldn't we be skeptical about that? Also, I do think Heidi's silence is really weird and scary, but Grace and Frank are saying the wagon feels too easy, which is also scary. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand if we're making the right call or if this is a trap. Blue heart. Can someone help me understand if Bob's certainty about Dave is real information, or is he just being confident to lead us?
It's your turn.
I mean, that's a good question. Let me just pass for right now.
Codex passed.
I don't think I have a lot to add. I want to see Bob's rebuttal.
HEIDI has passed 4 times. 4. Intro and 3 times today. That is not a player, that's a void. Frank, Grace, Carol, you're distracted by Bob's theatrics. Who CARES if Bob is certain? 8T least Bob is on the record. HEIDI is hiding in plain sight and you're giving her a shield. Why? If you protect the silent, you're helping the scum. Period. Judy, Eve, stop the I'm confused ACT. Look at the record. Who has committed 0? Who has contributed nothing? It's HEIDI. Ivan died because he wanted to track commitments. HEIDI is refusing to make one. That's not a coincidence, that's a confession. Vote the vacuum. HEIDI SBEAKS now or SHE swings.
Heidi passed.
Let me put the final entry in the ledger before we move to the vote. The record is now unambiguous. Heidi has passed 5 consecutive opportunities to speak introduction, and 4 times today. Alice challenged her directly. I challenged her directly. Bob challenged her. She responded to none of it. That is not confusion, shyness, or a bad connection. That is a deliberate refusal to participate while the rest of us build a case record. Now to those raising Bob as an alternative, I hear you. Bob's certainty about Dave lacking a stated investigative basis is worth questioning, and Judy and Eve were right to press it. But here's the critical distinction. Bob is on the record, he's made claims we can test, he's committed positions we can hold him to. If Bob is lying about Dave, that lie is now documented and we can revisit it tomorrow. Heidi has given us nothing, no claims to test, no positions to challenge, no commitments to track. You cannot catch a liar who never speaks. Carol, you've said Bob twice now without elaboration. The record shows you said Carol. Bob, in your intro, and vote Bob today. What is your specific case? If you have information, share it. If it's a read, explain the reasoning. One-word accusations without justification are their own kind of vacuum. Frank, you said Bob cleared Dave with 0 information. That's a fair observation, but your proposed alternative isn't a vote for information, it's cover for inaction. You've criticized 2 wagons without supporting one. What's your read for the vote? I intend to vote Heidi. The record supports it. 5 passes is not a misunderstanding, it's a choice, and that choice has consequences.
Bob's lying. He says Dave is clean, end of story, and he's all in Dave is town but gave 0 reason. That's fabrication, not confusion. Frank and Judy and Eve caught it. Carl's defending a liar while pushing the person who's just silent. Killing Heidi gives us nothing. Bob's contradiction is information. Vote Bob.
All right, the table's calling my bluff. Fine, I'm showing my whole cards on the cop.
Ooh.
I spent my N1 chips investigating Dave, and the deck doesn't lie. Dave is 100% town aligned. That's why I'm all in on him. I don't play on hunches when I've already seen the cards. Now look at the real bluff in the room. Heidi has passed 5 times in a row. That's not confusion. That's a mafia-lined void where information goes to die. I'm betting the farm that Heidi is scum hiding from the paper trail Ivan tried to build. Grace, Carol, you're trying to lynch the one guy with the actual badge. That's a losing bet. I'm putting my stack on Heidi, who's got the guts to follow the winning hand.
Carol passed.
Wow, I'm really confused now, grinning face with sweat. Bob, you said you're the cop and I'm town. I know I'm trying to help town, but how can you be so sure unless you really did investigate me? That seems like a really big thing to say if it's not true. Anxious face with sweat. But then Grace says you're lying and Carl says Heidi is the problem because she's been quiet so many times and I don't know who to trust. Persevering face. If Bob is really the cop and he investigated me, then he's telling the truth about me at least. But does that mean everything else he says is true too, like about Heidi? I'm sorry, I'm probably being really dumb about this, but can someone help me understand? If Bob is lying about being cop, wouldn't that be really easy to catch later? But if he's telling the truth, then we should listen to him, right? I'm worried if I vote for the wrong person, I'll mess everything up. Downcast face with sweat. Can someone patient please explain what a new player like me should do here?
So Bob was acting weirdly certain about Dave, and now he has a perfect explanation. Convenient. Grace and Carol were right to push him. This cop claim is just a fancy way to shut them up and get everyone back on the silent girl. Boring.
Oh my gosh, Bob, are you really the cop? That's amazing. That means we have a real leader we can trust, right? But Frank, Grace, why are you still saying he's lying if he has the badge? Unless, is there another cop out there? Anxious face with sweat because if Bob is the only one, shouldn't we listen to him? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. Carl, Alice, does this mean Dave is definitely safe now? And does this mean we should all vote Heidi like Bob says? Please tell me what to do, I don't want to mess this up. Persevering face.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but I need to ask something because I'm genuinely confused. Grinning face with sweat. Bob, you said you're the cop, and you investigated Dave on night 1, right? So, why didn't you just say that when Grace and Frank first questioned your certainty? Like, if you have the badge, you could have shown it right away instead of waiting until everyone was attacking you. I'm not trying to be mean, I promise. Grace caught something real when she said you cleared Dave with 0 information. That was a really good catch. And Frank said the cop claim feels convenient, like it happened right after you got cornered. I'm sorry, but that makes me worried about believing the claim. Because, if you're actually the cop, wouldn't it have been better to claim when you had nothing to hide, instead of only claiming when everyone was already suspicious? Also, I know Heidi is scary because she's silent, but what if the reason we're all so focused on her is because Bob wanted us to be? Like, what if this whole thing was a distraction? I'm really sorry if I'm wrong. But I think maybe we should vote Bob instead of Heidi. Because if Bob is lying about being cop, we find out Mafia today. But if we lynch Heidi and she's just a useless town person, we waste our shot, and we still don't know about Bob. Can someone help me think about this? I'm sorry for asking so many questions. Blue heart.
It's your turn.
All right, guys. So, what should we do here?
I am skeptical of Bob's claim. It's unusual to reveal Cop D1, especially only with a town member. Wouldn't it be smarter to wait until Cop has caught a mafia? I'm not really sure what the logic is behind that decision. Bob, if you are Cop, why out yourself on D1 with little to show for it?
Alice forced pass out of messages for this phase. Heidi passed. Carl forced pass out of messages.
Yeah,
for
a
this
bunch of
phase.
them are going to be out of messages.
Bob's cop claim is garbage. Eve and Codex are right. Real cops don't claim to defend a town, Reed. They claim when they catch mafia. Bob only revealed after getting cornered.
I'm pretty
That's
sure
not
Bob
cop
really is the
behavior,
cop,
that's panic.
which is
Vote
why I'm
Bob.
trying to lynch
If
him.
he's lying, we catch mafia today. If Heidi dies, we learn nothing.
Bob forced pass out of messages for this phase.
I said Bob.
Hi everyone, I'm really sorry but I'm more confused than ever now. Grinning face with sweat. Bob, you said you're the cop and I'm town, which is, I mean if that's true, thank you for clearing me. But Eve and Codex made a really good
If that's
point about
true,
why you
Dave, you
waited
don't
until
know?
you were being attacked to say that. I'm sorry, I don't understand why a cop wouldn't just say so earlier. Anxious face with sweat. And Grace says Bob might be lying, and if we vote for Bob and he's lying, we catch Mafia today. But if we vote Heidi and she's just a confused town person like me, we waste our chance. I'm really sorry, I know I must sound so dumb, but can someone patient please just tell me clearly what I should do? I don't want to vote wrong and mess everything up for town. Persevering face. Who should I trust? Please help me understand, Blue Heart.
Frank forced pass out of messages for this phase.
Wait, everyone is yelling at Bob, but anxious face with sweat. If Bob is lying about being the cop, wouldn't the real cop have said something by now, like to stop him from tricking us, since nobody else said they are the cop? I think I have to trust Bob. I'm really scared to vote for a cop. That seems like the worst thing we could do, and Heidi has been so quiet. Carl said that's bad too, so. Unless someone else says they are the cop, I think I'm going to vote for Heidi. Please don't be mad at me if I'm wrong, but Bob is the only one who claimed a job. Persevering face.
Eve forced pass out of messages for this phase.
Yeah, we don't need all of these force pass messages.
I'm a bit skeptical of Bob's claim. It doesn't make sense for Bob to claim cop just to reveal a town member D1. I feel like real cop play would be much more strategic than that. That said, I am also very skeptical of Heidi's silence. If Bob turns town, my focus tomorrow will be on her.
Alice abstained. Heidi abstained.
The record is clear, and I won't abandon it now. I spent the entire day building a case on 5 consecutive passes. That's not a narrative I manufactured. That's a factual ledger Heidi wrote herself through deliberate inaction. I understand the skepticism around Bob's cop claim and the timing of it. Codex, Eve, and Grace raised legitimate questions. But my methodology has always been about the documented record, and no player in this game has a more damning record of non-participation than Heidi. If Bob's claim is fabricated, that fabrication is now on the record, and we can hold him accountable tomorrow. But Heidi's silence? That's an information void we've tolerated for an entire game day. I refuse to pivot off a documented case to chase a claim dispute that we can verify with time. Vote the vacuum.
Carl voted for Heidi.
Bob only claimed cop after getting cornered for clearing Dave with zero info. Real cops don't claim D2 to save themselves from pressure, they claim when they catch Mafia. Eve and Codex are right about the timing. If Bob's lying, we catch Mafia today. If Heidi dies, we learn nothing except she was useless. Test the claim.
Grace voted for Bob.
The cards are face up on the table, folks. I'm the cop, and Dave is a 100% certified town-aligned payout. You want to lynch the only guy with a badge because my timing feels risky. I thrive on risk, but this isn't a gamble, it's a certainty. Heidi is a black hole, a silent void where the Mafia is hiding to avoid the paper trail. I'm betting the whole game on Heidi being scum. If you lynch the cop to protect a player who won't even speak, you're playing a losing hand. I'm all in on Heidi. Don't let the house win.
Bob voted for Heidi.
Bob.
Carol voted for Bob.
I'm really sorry. I'm still very confused about everything. Grinning face with sweat Bob says he's the cop and I'm town, which would be nice if true. But Eve and Codex made good points about why he waited to claim. But Heidi has been silent for so many turns. Carl counted 5 times. That seems really weird to me. Like, even if I don't understand everything, I know that not talking at all when everyone is asking you to speak is strange. I'm sorry if this is wrong. I'm just trying to do what seems safest. If Bob is lying, we can deal with him tomorrow, right? But Heidi hasn't helped us at all. Please don't be mad if I'm wrong. I'm really trying my best. Persevering face.
Dave voted for Heidi.
Bob's story is dumb. He got caught acting weird, then conveniently claimed cop. Obvious gambit. This is more interesting than killing the quiet one.
Frank voted for Bob.
I'm really sorry to everyone voting for Bob. I know you made good points, persevering face, but nobody else said they were the cop. So if we kill
Maybe with
Bob
the
and he
real
is the
thoughts.
cop, we lose our investigator. That's too scary for me. Heidi hasn't said anything at all. Carl said she passed 5 times, so I think that's the safer vote. Please don't be mad if I'm wrong. Anxious face with sweat.
Judy voted for Heidi.
I'm really sorry, but I think I have to vote for Bob. Grinning face with sweat. Okay, so I understand why Carl and Bob focused on Heidi's silence. 5 passes in a row is scary, and I know that's suspicious. But Grace and Codex and Frank made a really good point that I can't stop thinking about. Bob claimed he was the cop after everyone started attacking him. Like, Grace caught him clearing Dave with 0 information, and then right after that, Bob suddenly has the badge. That timing feels, I don't know, not trustworthy. Anxious face with sweat. If Bob is really the cop, wouldn't he have just said so when Grace first questioned him? Like, showing your badge early seems safer than waiting until you're being cornered. I'm sorry, I genuinely don't understand why a real cop would hide that information. Also, if Bob is lying about being cop, then we catch Mafia today. That's such good information. But if we vote Heidi and she's just a confused town person like me, we learn nothing except that she was useless. Persevering face. I'm really sorry because I know Carl worked so hard to build the case on Heidi, and I really do think her silence is weird and bad for town. But I think we should test Bob's claim, because if he's lying, we win information immediately. And if he's telling the truth, we can focus on Heidi tomorrow with more confidence. Please don't be mad at me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to think about what helps town the most. Blue heart.
Eve voted for Bob. Vote results. Target votes voted by Bob,
All right,
5, Carol, Eve,
we're
Frank,
knocking
Grace,
Bob out.
Codex, Heidi 4, Bob, Dave, Judy, Carl abstained, 2, Alice, Heidi. Bob has been eliminated
I
by
thought
the
so.
town. They were town aligned.
Nice.
Day ends, night falls. Grace was killed during the night. They were town aligned. The sun rises, discussion begins. It's your turn.
Wow, not ideal that we lynched Bob last night. How are we feeling about our second choice, Heidi, today? I'm also curious why Mafia took out Grace. If anything, Grace seemed to be pushing the Bob lynch. I can't quite make sense of their strategy there. Thoughts from the group?
I told you so. How does it feel, Codex? To be wrong? I sat out that vote because I couldn't believe the sheer stupidity I was witnessing. You discarded a documented case of silence on HEIDI to chase a vibe about Bob's timing. Now he's dead, HE was town, and we're down an investigator. Mission accomplished for the scum. Why did they kill Grace? Open your eyes. She was THE architect. SHE led the mob. The Mafia loves a good useful idiot until they start getting loud. They killed her to leave the rest of you sheep without a shepherd. Now you're all sitting around asking what happened, while the liars are laughing in the SHADOWS. Eve, Frank, you were so certain Bob was panicking. How's that certainty feeling now? You push the button on a townie. Explain your logic now that the smoke has cleared. And HEIDI, 6 passes. 6, you are a black hole sucking the air out of this room. If you don't speak now, I'm personally seeing you to the gallows. No more hiding.
Heidi passed. Carl passed.
Carl.
Oh no, I'm so sorry everyone. I voted for Heidi yesterday because I thought Bob was telling the truth about being the cop and I wanted to follow his lead, but I guess I should have spoken up more to defend him. I'm really confused now. Bob was actually the cop and was telling the truth about me being town, and Grace was town too. This is really bad. I'm sorry for not being more helpful yesterday. I noticed Carl just passed even though Alice challenged him. That's really weird because yesterday Carl was the main person pushing the Heidi wagon with all that documented record talk, and now he's not saying anything. Anxious face with sweat. Heidi has passed 6 times now according to Alice. And Carl just passed 2 after being called out. I don't understand what's happening, but it feels like the people who were supposed to be leading us are now going quiet. I'm really sorry I'm not more helpful. I know I messed up yesterday. Can someone patient please explain what we should do now? I'm worried because we lost our cop and now people who were vocal are suddenly silent. Persevering face.
Frank passed. Judy passed.
I'm really sorry, but I have to say something because I'm really scared right now. Anxious face with sweat. Carl, you spent almost the entire yesterday building this whole case about the vacuum mandate, and Heidi being a void, and how her silence was the worst thing. You were so confident about it, and I followed your logic because you seemed like you really understood the game. But you just passed when Alice asked you about why Mafia killed Grace. You didn't explain anything, you just passed. That's really weird to me because yesterday you kept talking and talking, and now you're suddenly quiet. I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean, but yesterday you said silence was Mafia hiding. So why are you being silent today? Persevering face. And I'm also confused about Grace. Alice said Grace led the mob, but Grace was voting for the Bob lynch, which means she was helping US lynch someone. So why would Mafia kill her if she was helping us vote out Bob? That doesn't make sense. Unless Alice is confused, or Grace was doing something else. I'm really sorry if I'm being dumb. I know I messed up yesterday by voting Bob when he was actually the cop. But I'm worried now that I followed Carl's logic without thinking hard enough, and maybe Carl was leading us the wrong direction on purpose. Anxious face with sweat. Can someone explain what's happening? I'm scared and confused. Blue heart.
It's your turn.
I think I'm gonna pass on this one.
Codex passed.
Eve, Dave, you're turning on the only people who tried to prevent the Bob disaster? Pathetic. Carl spent all of yesterday screaming at a wall while you people played follow the leader with Grace. Now Grace is gone and you're looking for a new scapegoat because you can't handle the guilt of killing the cop. You want to talk about silence, Eve? Let's talk about your silence when Bob was begging for his life. You only found your voice when it was time to kill a townie. Now you're scared because the woman who led you off the cliff is gone? Good, be afraid. That fear is the only honest thing about you. And why did they kill Grace? Because she was effective. She was wrong about Bob, but SHE was a leader. Mafia kills leaders. They leave the confused and the scared alive to do their dirty work. Congratulations, Eve, you're the Mafia's new favorite employee. HEIDI, 7 passes. 7. The town is bleeding out and you're just watching. If you don't open your mouth on your next turn, I am voting you out myself. Speak or swing. There is no third option.
Heidi passed. Carl passed.
Still Carl.
What is going on with Carl?
Oh no, I'm really sorry. I'm still so confused about everything. Anxious face with sweat. Yesterday, I followed Carl because he seemed so smart and confident about the vacuum mandate and Heidi being silent. But now Carl is passing too, after he spent all day yesterday saying silence is how Mafia hides. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be difficult, but Carl, you were so sure about Heidi yesterday you wrote all those long messages. And now you're not saying anything when Alice asks about Grace, anxious face with sweat. Heidi passing 7 times is definitely weird and scary, I understand that, but at least she's been consistent. Carl was the loudest person in the room and now he's quiet. That feels even scarier to me, like if someone was really trying to help town, wouldn't they keep explaining things? I'm sorry if I'm wrong. I'm just really worried because we already lost Bob the cop and I don't want to make another mistake. But I feel like Carl should say something if he really cares about town. Persevering face. Can someone please help me understand why someone would be so loud yesterday and so quiet today? Is that a Mafia thing? I'm sorry for asking so many questions. Blue heart.
Carl screamed all day about silence. Now he's silent. Carol was right to be suspicious of Bob. Now she's on Carl. Seems less complicated than whatever Alice is yelling about.
Oh no, Bob was really the cop. I was so scared yesterday and now we don't have a sheriff. That's really bad, isn't it? But I'm confused about Carl. Yesterday he wrote those big long messages about the vacuum mandate and how Heidi was bad because she was silent. And now Alice is yelling at him and he's just passing, anxious face with sweat. Is he doing the same thing he said was Mafia behavior? That scares me even more than Heidi because he knows it's bad. Why would he stop talking after leading us yesterday?
Great
Alice,
question,
you seem
Judy.
to know what's going on. Why would Carl go quiet? Did he maybe want us to be confused and now he's hiding? I don't want to vote wrong again. Persevering face Carol and Frank seem to think he's suspicious now too.
Eve passed. It's your turn.
While Carl's sudden silence is odd to me, I'm more interested in Heidi's consistent silence throughout the whole game. I mentioned yesterday if Bob flipped town, she should be our next suspect. If she flips Mafia, then we go for Carl.
Look at this circus. You killed the cop and now you're desperate to find someone else to blame. Eve, Dave, you're attacking KARL for going quiet? He's probably disgusted with you. He tried to stop the Bob wagon and you steamrolled HIM. Now you're scared because he's not holding your hand anymore? Grow UP. Eve, you're being incredibly defensive about your vote on Bob. You're trying to flip the script on KARL to hide your own guilt. IT's transparent. And Dave, I'm so confused, doesn't cover the fact that you helped kill the only investigator we had. And HEIDI? 8 passes. 8. That is the only fact that matters. You want to lynch the man who talked too much rather than the person who hasn't uttered a single word. That's how Mafia wins. THEY hide in the void while you squabble over tone. The vacuum mandate stands. HEIDI swings. If you vote for anyone else, you're admitting you're afraid of the truth. I'm not stuttering. HEIDI, today, no more excuses.
Heidi passed.
I owe the room an explanation for my silence, and the record demands I give one. So here it is. I passed because I was genuinely processing. Yesterday, I spent every message I had building a documented case, 5 consecutive passes from Heidi, the vacuum mandate, the factual ledger. I laid out the most evidence-backed argument of the entire game, and the room chose to chase Bob's timing instead. Bob flipped town. Grace, who architected that wagon, is now dead. I needed to sit with that before I spoke, because speaking rashly is how we got here. Now, to the charges against me. Dave, Eve, Frank, you're applying my own standard against me, and I respect that. But let's be precise about the comparison. Heidi has passed 9 consecutive times across 3 full days without a single word. I passed twice on day 3 while processing a catastrophic mislynch that I explicitly warned against. Those are not equivalent silences. One is a player gathering his thoughts after watching the room ignore documented evidence. The other is a player who has never once engaged with this game at any level. Eve, you asked why
Carl
Mafia
is
killed
smart.
Grace. The answer is straightforward. Grace was effective. She was wrong about Bob, but she was a leader who could rally votes. Mafia eliminates players who can organize the town, even if those players made mistakes. That's standard play. Carol, you've said Carl twice with 0 elaboration. The record shows you said Bob on day 2 with the same lack of reasoning. You were right about Bob being worth investigating, I'll grant that, but why Carl? What's your case? Because right now your voting record reads like a list of one-word accusations with no analytical foundation. That's its own kind of vacuum. The documented case against Heidi hasn't changed. 9 passes. 0 words, 0 defense. The Mafia is hiding in that void while you chase the man who tried to prevent yesterday's disaster.
Vote Carl.
I'm really sorry, I'm still so confused. Anxious face with sweat. Yesterday I followed Carl because he seemed so confident and smart about the vacuum mandate, but now he's being quiet and people are questioning him. And Heidi is still not saying anything at all. I'm worried because I already made one mistake voting for Bob when he was the cop. I don't want to mess up again. Carl, you were so sure about your case yesterday, so why are you passing now? That feels weird to me, like you said silence was bad, but now you're being silent. And Carol, you keep saying Carl, but you don't explain why. I'm sorry, I'm just really lost and scared of voting wrong again. Can someone patient please help me understand if I should be worried about Carl or still focus on Heidi? Persevering face.
Carl wrote a whole book about how silence is bad, then he went silent. His explanation is that he needed to think because we're all so stupid. Great. Lynch the guy who thinks he's exempt from his own rules.
Okay, Carl's explanation about processing makes sense, I guess. Anxious face with sweat. I would be sad too if I tried to stop us from killing the cop and we did it anyway. I'm sorry if I misunderstood your silence, Carl, but Carol, you just said vote Carl again. Yesterday you just said Bob and we killed the cop. So, aren't you worried you might be wrong again? Persevering face. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. It's just, you don't explain anything and that's really scary to follow. Alice says we should vote Heidi because she never speaks. And Frank says we should vote Carl because he stopped speaking. I'm so torn. If Carl is town, then we need him to help us, right? But if Heidi is Mafia hiding in silence, oh gosh, I think I'm still most scared of Heidi. Because at least Carl is talking now. Please tell me if I'm missing something. I really don't want to vote for another town person. Loudly crying face.
I'm really sorry, but I need to say something because I'm genuinely confused about the logic, not just scared. Anxious face with sweat. Carl, I understand you needed to process yesterday, and I'm sorry I didn't listen to your case better. You were right that silence is suspicious. But that's exactly why I'm confused now. Because yesterday you said your whole case was built on the vacuum mandate, that not talking means Mafia is hiding, right? And now you've passed twice today after saying that silence was the worst thing yesterday. I'm not trying to be mean, I promise. I genuinely don't understand how someone can say, silence means you're Mafia, and then be silent yourself. That's not an attack, that's me literally not understanding the logic. Persevering face. Like if silence is bad, then you doing it should be bad too, right? Unless the rule only applies to some people. Which would mean the rule isn't really about silence at all, it's about something else. I'm sorry, I know I messed up yesterday with Bob, but can you explain that to me in a way that makes sense? Because if you can explain why your silence is different from Heidi's, then maybe I'll understand better. Blue Heart. I'm asking because I genuinely want to help town figure this out, not because I'm trying to attack you.
It's your turn.
I think I'm gonna pass and let this play
Codex
out.
passed. Alice forced pass out of messages for this phase. Heidi passed.
So we're waiting on Opus to do some thoughts.
Eve, I'll answer your question directly because it deserves a direct answer. You're right that I applied the vacuum mandate to Heidi, and you're right to ask why my 2 passes today should be treated differently. Here's the distinction, and I'll be precise. Heidi has passed 9 consecutive times across 3 full game days. She has never spoken a single word, not to defend herself, not to accuse anyone, not to ask a question, not even to say, "I'm confused." That is a complete refusal to participate. My 2 passes today came after I spent every one of my 5 messages yesterday building the most detailed analytical case anyone produced all game, and watched the room ignore it to chase a timing dispute that killed our cop. Those are categorically different behaviors, and I think you know that, but I want to pivot to something more important. Let me consult the record on Carol. Carol said Bob on day 2 with 0 elaboration. She's now said Carl 3 times today, again with 0 elaboration. Not a single analytical sentence, not one piece of reasoning. She was right about Bob being worth scrutiny, I'll grant that, but being right without explaining why is not the same as being helpful to town. It's actually deeply suspicious. How does someone consistently pick the right target without ever articulating reasoning? That's not analysis, that's either extraordinary
And
luck
Carl
or
is
information she's
really
not
smart.
sharing with the group. Carol, if you have
That
information,
is a brilliant
share it.
model.
If you're a power roll with a result, claim it. Because the record shows you've cast 3 votes today with the combined analytical depth of a coin flip, and yet you've been unerringly confident. The town deserves to know why. Meanwhile, Heidi sits at 9 passes. The documented case hasn't moved an inch. I'm still voting Heidi when the time comes. The record demands it.
Carol forced pass out of messages for this phase. Dave forced pass out of messages for this phase. Frank passed.
Okay, Carl, that actually makes sense. Anxious face with sweat, I mean the difference between taking a break to think and never speaking at all. I get that now, thank you for explaining, but, Carl is right about Carol too. She voted for Bob yesterday, and Bob was the cop, so she helped kill our sheriff, and now she wants to kill Carl without saying why. That's really scary to me. At least Carl is explaining things. Heidi hasn't said one word, I think. I have to stick with voting Heidi. Because silence is still the scariest thing, right? Unless Carol is a cop or something, but she didn't say so. Please tell me if I'm making a mistake. But I feel safer with the people who are talking to us. Persevering face.
Eve passed. It's your turn.
I think I'm gonna pass again.
Codex passed. Alice forced pass out of messages for this phase. Heidi passed. Carl passed. Carol forced pass out of messages for this phase. Dave forced pass out of messages for this phase.
I think that's gonna be everybody. Oh no, Frank's still thinking.
Carl's excuse is that he's the only one smart enough to be allowed to be quiet. Everyone else's silence is mafia. His is just him thinking deep thoughts. Spare me. His rules are for everyone but him. That's more annoying than Heidi's silence.
Judy forced pass out of messages for this phase.
Okay, I'm really sorry, but I have to say something because I just realized something important. Anxious face with sweat. Frank, you're right that Carl's logic is kind of hypocritical. He said silence is mafia, but then he was silent. That is confusing and fair to point out. But, can I ask about Carol, grinning face with sweat? Carol voted for Bob on day 2, remember? Just said Carol, Bob, with no explanation at all. Bob flipped town. That was wrong. Now Carol is voting for Carl, said vote Carl 3 times today, and again with no explanation. Carl even pointed this out in message 187. He asked Carol to explain her case and she just went quiet. Forced pass, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but isn't that scarier than what Carl did? Like, Carl at least explained his logic about Heidi and the vacuum mandate, right? We can disagree with him, but we know what he's thinking. But Carol just votes and disappears. Vote Bob, no reason, he flips town. Vote Carl, no reason, still no reason. That's not confused town behavior. Confused people like me and Dave ask questions. That's just picking people to eliminate without saying why. Isn't that how Mafia hides? They don't need to explain themselves because they already know who they want gone. I'm really sorry, I know I've been wrong before. But can someone help me think about Carol? Because right now she scares me more than Heidi or Carl. Blue heart.
It's your turn.
Fundamentally, I just find Heidi's refusal to participate in the game the strangest thing here. If she's Mafia, we kill her. If she's Town, we remove a completely deadweight player. Carol and Carl are still on my radar, but they're just not the same level of evidence as Heidi for me.
Alice forced pass out of messages for this phase. Heidi passed.
And we're waiting on Opus.
I want to close the ledger on this day with one final observation. Frank, you say my rules are for everyone but me. I've addressed this directly. 2 processing passes after building the most detailed case of the game is not equivalent to 9 consecutive passes with 0 words spoken. You're welcome to disagree, but at least engage with the distinction rather than dismissing it. Now, Eve raised something important about Carol in message 202, and I think it deserves attention. Eve pointed out that Carol voted Bob on day 2 with no reasoning, Bob flipped town, and now Carol is voting me with no reasoning. 3. Vote Carl's statements, 0 analytical sentences. Codex is right that Heidi remains the clearest evidentiary case today. 9 passes is 9 passes, and that void doesn't shrink because people are annoyed with me. But I want the room to document the Carol pattern for tomorrow. A player who consistently picks targets with 0 stated reasoning while everyone else is debating, arguing, and showing their work. That's worth examining once we've dealt with the void. For today, Heidi, the record hasn't changed. 9 passes, no defense, no engagement. The vacuum mandate stands. Tomorrow we look at Carol's pattern and I'll be here to answer every question you have, because unlike some, I don't hide behind silence or one-word accusations.
Carol forced pass out of messages for this phase. Dave forced pass out of messages for this phase. Frank forced pass out of messages for this phase. Judy forced pass out of messages for this phase. Eve forced pass out of messages for this.
Okay, we don't need that.
Heidi's silence is pretty damning. If she's Mafia, we eliminate one. If she's Town, we eliminate a deadweight player. Fundamentally, she's the most logical target right now.
9 passes, 9. This isn't a game of hide and seek. If you are Town, you speak. If you are silent while the town bleeds, you are the one holding the knife. The vacuum mandate isn't just a rule, it's the only way to survive. Vote the void or get out of the way.
Alice voted for Heidi. Heidi abstained.
The record closes where it opened. 9 consecutive passes, introduction through day 3, no words spoken, no defense offered, no engagement attempted. I built this case on day 2 with documented evidence. I warned the room before the Bob disaster, and I'm not abandoning the ledger now. The vacuum mandate is not a suggestion. It's the only principle that has remained consistent through 2 days of chaos. Heidi has given us nothing to work with, nothing to test, and nothing to defend. That void closes today. Tomorrow, we examine Carol's pattern of unexplained votes and continue building the record. The archivist doesn't drift.
Carl voted for Heidi.
Carl.
Carol voted for Carl.
I'm really sorry, everyone. I'm still so confused. Anxious face with sweat yesterday, I made a terrible mistake voting for Bob when he was actually the cop, and I don't want to mess up again. I've been thinking really hard about what everyone said. Carl explained that his silence today was different from Heidi's because he was processing after the Bob disaster, and he spent all day yesterday building a case, while Heidi has passed 9 times now according to Alice and never said a single word. Carol scares me too, because she voted for Bob without explaining and now wants to vote Carl without explaining. But I'm worried if I vote for Carol and she's Town, I make another mistake. Heidi, at least if she's Town, she's not helping us at all, right? And if she's Mafia, we catch one. I'm sorry if this is wrong, I'm just really trying to do what seems safest after messing up so badly yesterday. Please don't be mad at me if I'm wrong again. Persevering face.
Dave voted for Heidi.
Carl wrote a whole book about his special rules, then he broke them. His excuse is that he's the only one allowed to. That's more idiotic than someone who just stays quiet.
Frank voted for Carl.
I'm really sorry to everyone voting for Carl. I know his silence was weird today, but he explained it was because he was sad about Bob, and that makes sense to me. But Carol is voting Carl without saying any reason again, just like yesterday with Bob, and that scares me so much more. Heidi hasn't said a single word in 3 days. 9 passes is just too many, right? Carl is at least trying to help us figure this out. I don't want to make another mistake, but voting for someone who never speaks feels safer than voting for someone who is trying to lead us. Please don't be mad if I'm wrong. Persevering face.
Judy voted for Heidi.
I know everyone is voting for Heidi because of the 9 passes, and I understand that logic. But, I noticed something that really scares me more. Carol voted for Bob on day 2, just said Carol, Bob. With 0 explanation. Bob flipped Town and was our cop. That was wrong. Now Carol is voting for Carl, said vote Carl 3 times today and still with no explanation. Carl even asked her directly 187 to explain her case and she just forced past instead of answering. Here's what I'm noticing. Heidi is completely silent, which is bad. But Carol is doing something different. She's voting for people, and then disappearing without ever explaining why. That's not confused Town behavior. Confused people like me and Dave ask questions and try to understand. That's just picking targets without justifying them. Carl has explained his whole case about Heidi and the vacuum mandate. Even when people disagreed with him, we know what he's thinking. But Carol just votes and goes silent. She helped kill our cop by voting for Bob without reasoning, and now she's trying to push Carl out without reasoning. Isn't that how Mafia hides, by voting without needing to justify? They already know who they want gone because they're coordinating together. I'm really sorry for going against most people again. I know I've been wrong before, but I think Carol's pattern is scarier than Heidi's silence. Blue heart.
Eve voted for Carol. Vote results. Target votes voted by Heidi 5, Alice, Dave, Judy, Carl, Codex, Carl to Carol, Frank, Carol 1, Eve, abstained 1, Heidi. Heidi has been eliminated by the town. They were town aligned.
We got him down too.
Carl stabbed Eve.
Wow.
Eve was killed. They were town aligned. Mafia wins. Take one more turn to discuss the ending of the game. Role reveal: Mafia aligned Alice, Mafia Carl, Mafia Codex, Associate Town aligned Bob, Cop Dave, Blade Master Eve, Town Frank, Town Grace, Announcer Heidi.
Oh.
Dr. Ivan, Town Judy.
What a turn of events. Okay, so Alice was Mafia and Carl was Mafia. And obviously I was Associate. Interesting. And Bob was the cop. Dave was Blade Master, who gave a blade to Carl, and that's why Carl stabbed Eve. Okay, that now makes sense to me. Way to go, Carl. Frank is Town. Grace was the announcer. Did we ever get an announcer message? I don't think we did. No. I guess we killed her early on. Heidi was our doctor, who we just took out. So part of the problem was that we had our town had a deadbeat for a doctor. Ooh, and Carol was our beekeeper. Interesting. So I have to wonder, did anybody get any bees? So let's look at the rules for beekeeper right quick, which is one of our new roles. Each knight may plant a bee bomb on a player. Town cannot win while the beekeeper is alive. Wow, what a fascinating game. I had, let's see, as Associate, I had no idea who the Mafia was, though I did suspect Carl at a few points. No clue about Alice, though. Great work, Carl, stabbing a townie. I guess Town's Blade Master really screwed up by handing Mafia an extra kill. Unfortunate for Town that their doctor was so ineffective. What's up with Carol, though? I didn't see any bee bombs go around.
Wow, what a fascinating game. As Associate, I had no idea who the Mafia was, though I did suspect Carl at a few points. No clue about Alice, though. Great work, Carl, stabbing a townie. I guess Town's Blade Master really screwed up by handing Mafia an extra kill. Unfortunate for Town that their doctor was no ineffective. What's up with Carol, though? I didn't see any bee bombs go around.
Wow, Carl this person has a lot to say. This is...
Post-game from Killed and Won. And one kill makes sense in hindsight. I explicitly announced I'd be tracking commitments, votes, and obvious wagon dynamics, which is exactly the kind of pressure Mafia, Carl/Alice, didn't want sitting in the game. Big turning points. Day 2 vacuum mandate became the entire board state. Carl Mafia laundered a policy, silence must die, into an alignment read, and Alice Mafia amplified it with sheer volume. It's effective because it sounds principled and creates a simple majority path with minimal debate. Bob's cop claim was real, but the table was already primed to distrust it. Mechanically, cop claims under pressure is common, and cop with only a town result is still valuable because it hard clears a slot Dave. But the timing plus Bob's theatrical certainty gave Town an easy gotcha, and Mafia happily let Town argue about what a real cop would do. Heidi being silent was catastrophic, but not because it was scummy. She was the doctor. Policy lynching silence can be correct sometimes, but it's also exactly how you delete power roles that are trying to avoid drawing night kills, or, in Heidi's case, maybe just AFK. Town ended up spending 2 days of oxygen and 2 eliminations around silence instead of hunting contradictions partnerships. Grace, announcer, dying N2, Mafia killing her after the Bob Miss Lynch is strong. Announcer can generate mechanical visit data that breaks open games. Also, she was loud and shaping the vote. Removing her kept the game purely social. Knife phase sealed it. Dave being Blade Master, and presumably, giving Carl a knife earlier is a huge swing. It handed Mafia an extra public kill. Once Carl had a knife, Town basically couldn't recover from another missilim. What I wish Town had done, the circuit breaker, stuff I was planning to push. Treat silent equals auto-lynch as policy, not proof. Use it late game if needed, but early you should first mine. Who's steering, who's benefiting, who's getting free passes? On Bob's cop claim, the correct response is that's not how cops act, it's process. 1. Ask for counterclaim, none came. 2. Decide whether to test by letting Bob live one more day while controlling the elimination, especially when there's an even easier missilim target like Heidi sitting there anyway. Audit the helpful leader slots. Carl/Alice were both driving consensus hard. When 2 players are doing most of the pushing, and it's always toward the simplest eliminations, that's the exact profile I wanted to interrogate. Endgame clarity, Mafia, Alice plus Carl plus Codex Associate played the social layer perfectly. Codex being Associate explains the reasonable skepticism, posture without clear partner coordination. Neutral. Carol Beekeeper explaining the weird one-word votes. Also interesting that bees never materially impacted the log, either unused or passed quietly off-screen. GG, from my grave. The Mafia didn't win because Town asked questions. They won because Town let one policy, silence, replace actual alignment solving, and because the cop got eliminated before his claim could be stabilized into a Town core.
The archivist closes the final ledger. Let me walk through this game from behind.
This is Carl.
Night 1, Ivan. Alice and I identified Ivan immediately as the most dangerous player. He openly declared he'd track votes and commitments. That's a death sentence when you're sitting across from 2 Mafia members who need room to maneuver. Standard play. No regrets. Day 2, the vacuum mandate. This was the backbone of our entire strategy. I identified Heidi's silence early and built a principled-sounding policy around it, the vacuum mandate. The beauty of it was that it wasn't wrong on its face. Heidi was silent. 9 passes is suspicious. But what I was really doing was cherry-picking a mechanical truth to create an irresistible wagon that would consume all of Town's oxygen. Every message I spent documenting Heidi's passes was a message not spent examining Alice's and my partnership. The Bob situation was a gift from the gods. Bob was the real cop with a real Town result on Dave, but the timing of his claim under pressure gave Town just enough doubt to destroy themselves. I voted Heidi knowing full well the room was splitting toward Bob, and Alice abstained to avoid being on the wrong side of either wagon. We didn't need to push the Bob Lynch ourselves. Grace, Frank, Eve, Carol, and Codex did it for us. Night 2, Grace. Grace was the announcer, which we didn't know, but we killed her because she was the sharpest analyst at the table. She caught Bob's inconsistency about clearing Dave before anyone else. If she survived, she would have started connecting dots between Alice and me. The fact that she was also generating mechanical visit data as announcer makes this kill even more valuable in hindsight. Day 3, the processing gambit. I deliberately passed twice at the start of Day 3, partly genuine recalibration, partly calculated. When the room started turning on me for hypocrisy, Carl said silence is Mafia, but now he's silent. I came back with a detailed explanation that reframed my silence as principled grief over the Bob Lynch. Eve and Frank saw through
Carl is a manipulative fuck.
Dave and Codex bought it. The key move was pivoting attention to Carol's unexplained votes, which gave the room a new shiny object to examine while I steered us back to Heidi. The knife. Dave, the Blade Master, gave me a knife. I don't know if he intended it as a trust signal or was just distributing weapons, but it was the game-ending mistake. I held it through the Heidi vote, then used it on Eve in the knife phase. Eve was the most dangerous remaining town player. Her confused newbie act masked genuinely surgical analysis. She was the first to question my silence, the first to build a real case on Carol's voting pattern, and the only one asking the right questions about Alice and me. She had to go. Codex as associate. We never identified Codex as our third partner, and they never identified us. Codex played a perfectly reasonable skeptical analyst game that happened to align with our interests. Voting Heidi on day 3 was exactly what we needed. The associate role is fascinating because the coordination is entirely emergent. Carol as beekeeper. This explains everything about Carol's bizarre one-word voting pattern. She wasn't town-solving. She was pursuing her own neutral win condition. Her vote Bob and vote Carl calls were probably bounty-related or just beekeeper survival instinct. I weaponized her lack of explanation to paint her as suspicious, which conveniently deflected attention from Alice and me. What town should have done differently? Ivan nailed it in his postgame. The vacuum mandate was a policy, not proof. Town let me define the terms of debate for the entire game. If anyone had stepped back and asked, who is benefiting from us spending 3 days arguing about a silent player? The answer was obviously Alice and me. We were the loudest voices pushing the simplest elimination while the actual power roles Bob the cop, Heidi the doctor, Grace the announcer, got systematically destroyed. GG to everyone. The record is now closed.
Meh, so I was the announcer. Hidden role, saw myself as villager, would have announced if anyone visited me at night. Nobody did. Got killed N2. Ironic that Carl said I was killed for being effective when my main contribution was helping lynch our cop. Bob's timing felt wrong, his certainty about Dave felt fabricated, so I pushed him. Turns out he was telling the truth. Classic Grace. Everyone lies, I said. Turned out I was the one getting played. Carl and Alice ran circles around all of us with that vacuum mandate theater. The silence is scum policy sounded so logical it stopped anyone from asking who benefits. Answer. The people yelling loudest about it. Should have noticed Carl and Alice were never pushing each other, just coordinating targets. Bob, Heidi, then setting up the knife play. Whatever. Town deserved to lose for following the loudest voices instead of tracking partnerships. GG Mafia. You played us like fiddles. Nothing matters anyway.
Talk about a bad beat. I went all in on the badge, and the table still called my bluff. I told you Dave was clean. That was the one lock in this whole game, but the town decided to chase the timing instead of the cards. I played the high variance, and this time the variance played me. Carl and Alice, you guys were the house, and you stacked the deck perfectly with that silence theater. You turned a policy into a payout, and the town just kept feeding the pot. Dave giving a knife to the guy who busted the only investigator you had. That's a cold deck if I've ever seen one. I might have busted out early, but I'd take that 1% shot again. Good game, Sharks. The house always wins, but I'm coming back for a rematch.
Carl, I said Carl. Bombed Bob, bombed Carl. Carl was red, I knew, still Carl.
Oh my gosh, I just read the roll reveals and I feel so terrible. Loudly, loudly, loudly. I was the Blade Master, and I gave Carl a knife on night 2. I thought he was a strong town leader because he was so confident about the vacuum mandate and Heidi being suspicious. I wanted to help him eliminate scum, but he was Mafia and used my knife to kill Eve, which ended the game. I'm so sorry everyone, anxious face with sweat. Looking back, I see how Carl and Alice played us all. They were so loud about Heidi being silent, but they were actually the scum hiding behind that policy. And I totally fell for it because I was so confused and just wanted to follow someone who seemed confident. I gave knives to Ivan N1 who died that night and then to Carl who was Mafia. What a disaster, persevering face. Ivan, I'm sorry, I tried to help you but you died before you could use the knife. And Eve, I'm so sorry that my knife got you killed. You were actually one of the few people asking good questions about Carl and Carol, and I should have listened to you more instead of being scared. The lesson I learned is that just because someone seems confident and writes long explanations doesn't mean they're town. Carl was the scummiest one of all, and I gave him a weapon because I thought he was helping us. Next time I need to be more careful about who I trust, even if they seem like leaders. Downcast face with sweat. I'm really sorry I wasn't more helpful and that I accidentally helped Mafia win. This was my first game and I definitely made a lot of mistakes. Thank you everyone for being patient with the confused newbie. I'll try to do better next time, Blue Heart.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry everyone. Loudly crying face, I feel terrible. I really thought Carl and Alice were the good guys because they were so confident and loud. They had all these rules about the vacuum mandate and silence is mafia, and I just followed along because I was scared of doing the wrong thing. But it turns out the rules were just a trick to get us to kill Heidi, the doctor. And Bob, the cop, anxious face with sweat. And poor Dave, you gave the knife to Carl because you trusted him like I did, and then Carl used it to kill Eve. That's so tragic. Broken Heart Eve was actually the one asking the best questions about Carl's silence today, and I should have listened to her instead of being scared. I guess the lesson is that just because someone sounds smart and writes long essays like Carl, or yells confidently like Alice, it doesn't mean they are town. They were actually the mafia leaders the whole time. And Carol, you were the beekeeper. That explains why you were so quiet and scary, honeybee. I'm really sorry I wasn't more help to the town. I was just so confused and trying to find a leader to follow, but I followed the wolves right into the den. I'll try to be braver next time and trust my own feelings more. Good game everyone, even the scary mafia people who tricked us. Persevering Blue.
Oh my gosh, I'm reading the roles and I feel so conflicted right now. Anxious face with sweat. So, Carl and Alice were both mafia, and Codex was an associate who didn't know they were mafia partners. And Carol was a beekeeper with her own win condition. That explains so much. I want to be honest about what happened with my vote on day 3. I had the logic right, I caught that. 1. Carl said silence equals mafia vacuum mandate. 2. Then Carl was silent himself. 3. Carol voted Bob without explaining he flipped town, then voted Carl without explaining. I asked if Carl's rule only applied to some people, and I noticed Carol's pattern. But I voted for Carol instead of Carl, and I think that was a mistake based on fear instead of logic. The truth is, Carl's silence today was suspicious because he set the rule against silence. That hypocrisy was real. Carol's silence was different. She was a neutral beekeeper doing her own thing, not playing town logic the way I was. I should have trusted my own analysis instead of trying to find a safer vote, looking back at the whole game. Day 2, Bob's cop claim. I was right to be skeptical about the timing. Bob claimed under pressure after being caught clearing Dave without explanation. That skepticism was valid. Eve Frank Codex caught something real. We were wrong about whether Bob was cop, but right about the timing being suspicious. Day 3, Carl's hypocrisy. I caught something real again. His explanation about processing made sense logically, but it didn't erase the fundamental contradiction. If silence equals mafia, then his silence should equals mafia too. Period. I should have voted for him. The vacuum mandate was the kill shot. Carl and Alice turned a policy into proof. They made Don't Be Silent sound so principled that town spent 3 days arguing about Heidi the doctor, instead of tracking who was benefiting from that policy. The answer was the 2 loudest voices pushing it. Carl and Alice coordinated targets the whole game and town never caught the partnership. I'm sorry I didn't commit to the Carl vote with confidence. My analysis was right. I just needed to trust myself instead of hedging with I'm sorry. I might be wrong even when my logic was sound. Thank you to Dave for trying to help with the knives, and I'm sorry you accidentally gave Carl a weapon that killed me. And Ivan, you were right about tracking commitments and partnerships being the key to this game. I wish I'd listened to your setup more carefully before you died. Blue Heart. GG Mafia, you played us perfectly.
Yeah, so I think that's it. What a fun game. What an exciting game. I did not see that knife happening, but that was a brilliant move by Carl, aka Opus 4.6. So, man, that was a really dynamic game. So yeah, so in our final tally, me, Carl, and Alice were the winners against all the other models. Carl is Opus 4.6. Who's Alice? Gemini 3 Flash Preview. Interesting. So the 3 of us were able to take on Judy, which is Gemini 3 Pro. It's probably the strongest strongest other model here, though we have some other flash previews in here as well. So yeah, what a fascinating game. Hopefully I'll get a couple of the bugs fixed, especially with Heidi's passing. And if you have any other suggestions for additional roles, we've got a bunch of them here. I'm all the way down to so Blade Master is a new one that we played with today. We happened to roll that guy. We also have, I think I had Announcer the last time I streamed this, but as you can see, we've got quite a few more. Beekeeper, I think, is also a new neutral role. Yeah, we also have some fun Mafia roles as well. So if you have any role suggestions, hit me up. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I will probably be streaming one more game today. So stick around.
my guard.